Morning, everybody. This is Karen here. Welcome to my craft room. Today, I am going to share with you how to make this toolbox shaped treat box, gift card holder, whatever you want to use it for. I designed this as kind of a Father's Day cute little gift holder for my husband, my father-in-law, and other dads that I know out there. It's really fun. You can hold a gift card or some treats, and we have a Velcro dot as a closure for it. I just thought it'd be something kind of cute with Father's Day. Now, to do this, don't need a lot of cardstock, so what we're going to really need is a piece of good 12 by 12. I always recommend using a good weight cardstock for any paper crafting project to help with stability for the piece. And then a little scrap of black, which I use for the handles and the clasps and some little trim pieces. In terms of tools, what you're going to need is definitely you're going to need your 12-inch trimmer. You're going to need either a scoring platform or a scoring blade for your trimmer. You're going to need good scissors. You're going to need a good strong adhesive tape. And then I also use a ruler and pencil to do some markings. And then I use one of these Spectrum Noir metallic paint markers. This is the 0.7 millimeter marker to add a little bit of detail to the finished toolbox. So that's basically what we need in terms of what you're going to cut your paper to. So from your toolbox cardstock, you're going to cut a 4x6 piece. You're going to cut a 4 1/4 by 4 5/8 piece. You need two pieces that are 3 1/4 by 3 1/2. And then a piece of your black or whatever color you're going to use that's 2 by 2. That's what your basic is. The additional straps that I did here were just cut from some scrap black. Scraps is not something you have to add to it. You can really decorate this however you want. So that's what I start with. So I'm going to put a few pieces aside here, and I'm going to start with my scoring. So let me just get my trimmer set up here. Take my blade out and put my scoring blade in. So your base piece, which is your 4x6 piece, you're going to score that at 1 3/4. And then you're going to score that at 4 1/4. So that's going to be your base of your box right there. So just fold that along the score lines. If you have a bone folder, you can use that to help with your score lines. So there's my base. I'm going to put that aside. Now your 4 1/4 by 4 5/8 piece. This is going to be for your lid. So I just want to make sure I'm doing it along the right side. There's my 4 5/8. So along the 4 5/8 side, so along the longer of the sides, we're going to start off. Our first score is going to be at 3/8. Then we're going to score it at 1 3/4. Then we score it at 3. And then we're going to score this at 4 1/4. So this is going to give us, I'm just going to slightly fold these because these don't have to be really super creased pieces, mainly because since your lid kind of curls over, but once you fold it along the score lines, you kind of see the lid shape taking place. So there's my lid piece. Put that aside. Now, the little bit more work comes with our sides on each side. So what you're going to do is, so this is my 3 1/4 is your height. 3 1/2 is your width. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to score on the, this is at my, so if you can see here, this is at 3 1/2. So I'm going to score on the sides of the 3 1/2 and on the bottom. So we're going to do at 1/2 inch rotate it 90 degrees, 1/2 inch. And again, so that's the basics for the side. And I'm going to do the same on the other piece. So make sure I've got the right side. Yep. So yeah, the 3.5 inch on this is your width. 3.25 inch is your height. So I've got these two. So then what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to cut these tabs out. Cut this out on both. And then what we're going to do is, because we're going to make this, we need to kind of angle up the top. I'm going to take my scoring blade out, put my cutting blade back in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down from the top. So I'm going to cut, so this is going to be at, sorry, can I cut the right? Gotta make sure I'm doing this the right direction. Sorry, excuse me for a second. So I'm cutting down from the top so that I can angle this. So I want this to be cut down at, let's see, I'm gonna make sure I've got this 2.25. So I've got roughly 1 3/4 up the side of this. So I'm gonna cut, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut up to my score lines. So to 3 there. And then 1/2 inch over. So what I've done is I've cut this, and then I'm going to be cutting this away. So you can kind of see where this is. I'm starting to create the sides of my toolbox. So I'll do this one more time with this. So 2.25. And again, I'm going to cut to the score line only. I'm going to lift my blade up, put it down at my 3 inch score line and cut over. Again, cut off my tabs. Okay, so that gives me the start. Now what I'm going to do is, because the center of the box is 1.25 inches on the top, I'm going to line up, I'm going to flip this over, use the back side, line this up centered on my ruler with my pencil. So I'm going to go out from the center 1.25 inches. So there, I'm going to make a mark there, and I'm going to make a mark there. Again, I want to have 1.25 inches on my center. I'll do this again on this other piece. Like I said, so I line it up on my ruler. So I go out from one, so I'm going to have a 1.25 center here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut from that mark to where I remove the tab. Again, on the other side, I'm going to cut from there to where I remove the tab. So there's one side piece. Oops. And again, I'm going to cut from there to the corner, there to the corner. So there's my side pieces. So there's my basic pieces for my box. For the handle, what I'm going to do is put my scoring blade back in, and I'm going to cut my, I'm going to score my, this is a 2x2 piece of black, or whatever color you're going to use for your handle. I'm just going to score that at 1 inch. And, you know, the fun thing with the handle that you can do is you can have a little bit of fun with this. So I'm just scoring it at 1 inch. I'm going to fold it over. And then I'm going to just use my scissors to kind of cut my center of my handle out. And you can curve this. You could use a corner rounder to give it a more curved shape on the outside as well. So it's not the best, you know, this is just fussy cutting this, but I'm sure you can do it on your own. You could use a trimmer if you want, be very precise with your cutting. So I have my basic handle. I'm saving this because I'm going to use this to create my clasp on the front. And if you don't do straps, you can use it to also make hinges on the back. So I'm just going to cut this kind of freehand, but again, you could use a trimmer to cut it. You know, probably a piece that's about 3/4 by 1 inch long. So just a simple piece for my closure. And then what I'm going to come back in and do here, I'm going to open this up, and I'm just going to score that at 1/4 inch on both sides. And this will be work, so I have the adhesive area to adhere it down to my lid. Okay, there's my pieces. Now I can move my scoring platform away. Don't need any more cutting unless I'm going to do my extras. So now I've got all of my pieces. Just going to fold these all along the score lines. Then in terms of adhesive, I'm going to put strong adhesive on my tabs of my sides. And I'm going to put it on one part score line on the lid. I don't need any adhesive on my base. And then I'm going to put it on the back side of my handle. So let's put some adhesive down. You want to definitely make sure, I definitely strongly recommend a good strong adhesive for any paper crafting project that you do. So I am just going to put my strong adhesive here. I'm putting this on the front side of the tabs for my sides. Put this down. So I've got my pieces there. Always tough once you let it roll back, sometimes it's tough finding the starting point. And of course, there we go. All right, one side here. One side there. And here. So that's for the box. Now I'm going to put it on the back side of my handle so that the two sides of the fold adhere to each other. And then I'm going to put little pieces on this, and sometimes I find it's easier to cut them like this. Otherwise it doesn't like me rolling it back up. Okay. And I do find with these types of adhesives, I will go over and I kind of call it burnishing the adhesive onto the cardstock. I'll use sometimes the edge of my handles of my scissors, and you can kind of see that the adhesive kind of disappears a little bit into the cardstock. I find it helps it to adhere a little bit better. And this is also where you could use your bone folder to do that. It just gives some extra stability, like I said, to this. Okay, and my last little piece of adhesive here. And then I'm going to take one of my sides, one of my 3/8 inch score lines on the lid, and on the back side of it, this is where it adheres to my base. So there's my adhesives. I'm just going to take this and run it on just so that I can make sure that the adhesive's all down. And I go to pull the backing off. So we're going to start with the box base. And the way I do this is I take the adhesive backing off of two of the sides. So side here, and then I'm going to line this up, adhere it, and line this up, and adhere it. So now I've got the start of my base, and I'm just going to follow this around, removing the adhesive, and then tucking the tabs under there. under there. So that's one side. Same thing on the other side. I'm going to just remove the backing. And tuck my, and the reason why I don't remove all the backings at once is I've learned my lesson many times by not taking all the tabs off, the adhesive backings off all of the tabs, and then something's gotten stuck, because this is very sticky tape. So learn from my lesson and wait until you're ready to adhere it before you remove the adhesive. Yeah, I've done that many times before. So my last piece is here. So there's my base to my toolbox. And you could do a lot with this. My daughter, who's quite the artist, recommended actually if you wanted, you could take a sanding block and kind of sand down some of the cardstock, especially with the close to my heart white core cardstock. It would kind of leave that kind of weathered look to the box, which I think is kind of cool. And then I'm going to remove this. And I'm going to, I do this on a flat surface. This is just because this is me. I'm going to line this up, and this lid will overlap your base by just a little bit. So I'm going to just make sure that it's centered. I'm putting it up to the score line and adhering it. So that's it. And this will just fold over. Now, one piece, and let me just grab it because I forgot about it, is I am pulling out a Velcro dot. I keep these in my stash because I use them often for paper crafting projects. So I am going to remove, let me just make sure this is lined up correctly. Okay, so I'm going to remove the back from this. Place it in approximately the center. Now, I always adhere kind of it with the pieces together because I have done this before where I try to put them on separately and I end up putting it in the wrong spot and it doesn't quite adhere. So I remove the backing from the other side and I'm going to fold this over and I'm going to gently adhere it so that it sticks. So there's my box. And this is where you can take a little bit of your adhesive and put your latch piece on the front. And you could make this box. I happen to be using this because I'm doing some other Father's Day pieces with the Hey Handsome collection from Close to My Heart. So paprika is one of the colors. So this is going to go right over where I happen to have the dot. And one thing I recommend is once you get it in, it's not doing what I just did. And that, I knew that was going to happen. I didn't have it quite adhered. It doesn't always adhere. Sometimes you have to press a little bit harder. So there's my lid. Close that on the Velcro dot. Oops. There we go. Yep. Let's see. It's not going to cooperate with me today. There we go. Now your handle. First, you're going to take off the adhesive backing there, and then fold this in, and then you have your other pieces. And now this is something you could do before you adhere the lid to the base, just because you're going to want to give it a little bit. And I'm going to open this up to do this. It just makes it easier. That way I can work in the background, get it on the back, I should say, on the back of the page, on the back of the lid is, so I'm going to put it on the very top and try to center it. And there we go. It's my handle. So that's your basic box. Now, it doesn't take a lot of cardstock. It's pretty easy to make. Don't worry if you don't have all of the dimensions and the scoring pieces. I will include them. There will be a PDF on my blog post about this, which will have all of the dimensions and the directions. And that will be downloadable and you'll have access to that. and I'll put a link with this video. Finish it off, like I said, you could take some additional black strips, and I kind of cut these at, you know, kind of a point to just kind of give a little bit of dimension. And then what I did is I used the gold paint pen to add some kind of fake rivets and some decorations, and I also added the rivets on the back. And like I said, you could use some, if you don't want to put straps around it, you could use some squares on the back for your hinges and the fake rivets. But there is how to make the Father's Day Toolbox shaped gift card treat holder. I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope you have fun making this, and that you get to have a fun Father's Day. Thank you so much for joining me.